Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here tonight with a very special one-shot. Tonight, we are going to be running Shadows Under Sandwall. This is going to be kind of a mashup of two of Absolute Tabletop's products, the Sewers Under Sandwall and the Shadows over Driftchapel. This takes place in a setting that they have developed called Gloam, which is kind of flintlock eldritch horror-y. So, yeah, tonight should be hopefully a little spooky, but we'll have to see. This game is being run as a part of Not AtCon, kind of a convention where we are celebrating Absolute Tabletop and the community that they have managed to build around their brand. It really is just a fantastic group of very creative, very supportive people. One of the best communities that I've ever been able to find, especially online. So yeah, definitely do go check them out at the Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook. I think that's the full title. But definitely a fantastic community and a fantastic company, honestly. This is also being done kind of officially, unofficially, somewhat in conjunction with a charity event that is going on this weekend over on my friend Jake's channel at Mini Terrain Domain on Twitch. So yeah, it's all going towards a charity called Game to Grow, which is a nonprofit that kind of seeks to put role-playing games into a therapeutic role to help people who have social anxiety or who may be like on the autism spectrum, or any of those kinds of things that where role-playing games can kind of help work through some of those issues, hopefully. And yeah, it's a really cool group of people that do some amazing things with these games that we love. So the chance of getting to play a game and have it benefit such a charity is an incredible opportunity, and I'm very, very thankful to be a part of both of those things. So I'm going to give the same warning that I give at the beginning of all of my games, and that is if bad language and mature subject matter are things that bother you, then please do not watch this video. You probably shouldn't be on my channel, truth be told. But if those things do not bother you, then welcome in, ye heathen. You've come to the right place. So let's see, what else? I'm going to pass things over to my players so that they can introduce themselves, tell you where you might be able to find them on the internet, plug anything that they might have currently going on, and then I think we're gonna kick this ball down the hill. So we're going to start things off with DJ.
Hey everyone, I'm DJ. My channel is The Griffin's Nest, and for once I actually have something to plug. Tonight, a few hours after we get done with this game, is at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, also a part of Not AtCon. We are going to be playing Mecha Hack, Crisis on Go On Station, the players for which are all on this screen right now. Everybody but Jeremy is going to be back here in just a little for that game this evening. Really looking forward to that. Yeah, I think that's the main thing that I have to plug right now. But I'm excited to be here. I don't know if we're doing character introductions or not, but
It's up to you.
I'm playing Gideon Poole, a former Dawnbringer of Gloam, of the world, and I'm excited.
Hell yeah, man. I'm really happy to have you back on the channel, DJ. This will be the second game, but I think like the third session that I've managed to have you in. I
think this is the third game.
Maybe.
I played Harbinger one night with you guys.
Oh, yes. Okay. That's right. I think you came in as like a pitch hitter, right?
Yeah,
right,
it was,
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and you also played in the Disney Mad Max game that we ran, the Unhappily Ever After. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, so I'm super happy to have you. Gideon Poole, that's such a great Gloam name that feels so like New England, like Cockney. Yeah, I'm super excited for this game, so I'm ready to get to it. Speaking of super excited, next is Paul.
Hi, everyone. Paul, also known as the Raven Rolls. You can find me Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, a few different places. And the only thing I have to plug is, DJ and I, along with Dimension 119, who is in the chat, we play Starforged every other Friday. So today would have been a game night. So in 2 weeks, I hope we can get back on track. And yeah, that's cool. I stream it on my Twitch channel and then replay on the Griffin's Nest here on YouTube. And I will be playing Saveryn Poole. He is, I guess, a retired artist, which is, I guess, like a researcher, inventor type of character. And yeah, he wears a plague doctor mask that he probably doesn't remove for anyone. Not that anyone remembers, and maybe it's just his way. But maybe you'll find out, maybe you won't. He's horribly scarred, who knows? And yeah, can't wait to play.
Excellent. Yeah, and happy to have you back too, Paul. I know this has been. I don't remember how many games that you and I have gotten the chance to play together, but it's probably at least half a dozen or so at this point.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but always happy to have you back, man.
It's always great to be part of games. I don't know if I probably played with you, but most of the time it's you've DM'd the games. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I run a lot of games, so sometimes I don't remember which games I've played with someone and which games I've run for people. But super happy either way. Honestly, I love both. Yeah, you mentioned Dimension 119, my buddy Nathan. Glad to see him and other people here in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Lots of love. All right, speaking of lots of love, next is Scott.
Oh, cool. Hi, everybody. I've got nothing to plug. Anyway, moving on. I'm just kidding. Scott from Heeroic Studios Gaming. You can find me in some places under Heeroic Studios Gaming or under Hero 170 with 2 E's. I put this not icon together because I wanted to do something in lieu of the atcons that we weren't having, and then found out about Jake's thing and was like, oh, well, then I'm just going to raise that money for charity and hand it over to them. I originally didn't even have a plan to charge anybody for anything, and then I was like, oh, let's raise money. Let's do that. But anyway, I am, here to do some game stuff, and I get to play in some games, which is not usual for me. I'm forever GM, so but I have some products out there in the world which you can find out about by looking me up, but if you go to Heroic Studios Gaming with 2 E's, heroicstudiosgaming.com, there's links to all of that stuff and you can find all that stuff. But today I'm going to be playing Rodrick, who's just a simple sailor man who doesn't know a lot about religion or politics or magic, but knows the sea, and maybe one day we'll have a boat that can sail on it. And I'll try to be in the accent all night, but if I use the wrong vernacular, please excuse me and don't at me, bro.
Not a worry at all. I'm sure my accents will be all over the place as usual. But yeah, man, I'm super happy to have you here. I've had the chance to play under you once. And then here recently we've been, on a couple of panels and things where we've gotten to chit chat, which has been great. But yeah, I think this will be the first time I get to run a game for you, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it is, and this means that now I can go on and leave a review for you on, StartPlaying.games or whatever.
Ooh, yeah,
there we go.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, this is exciting. I've never run a Gloam game before. I've never even played in a Gloam game before, so this will be my first endeavor in that. Hopefully, I manage to hit all the check boxes, but we'll see. Yeah, anybody who mentions a channel, you should be able to find it in the description of the video. I do highly recommend that you take the time to go check them out, give them some love and support. They absolutely deserve it, every single one of them. Speaking of absolutely deserving it, and also another first time here on the channel, last but certainly not least, we have Matt.
And hello, I'm here. It's 5:15 in the morning, and we're raring to go. It's going to be great. I've been thinking about this game all week. Uni work, doesn't matter. We got Gloam, and we're gonna have a good time. I'm Matt. You can find me here tonight, not regularly. You can find me very sporadically on my own channel, linked in the description. And you can find me semi-regularly on Asasin's Twitch channel playing Westocalypse with a fine bunch of people, if you so fancy. Yeah, I'm just excited to be here. This is going to be good. I've only played in Gloam once, and that is a crime. I've only played with Jeremy as a DM never, and that is a bigger crime. No, everyone always says Jeremy's games are the stuff of legend, and I'm hoping that's true. It'll be true.
No pressure.
No pressure. Listen, man, if this game isn't the best I've ever played, I am going to sue you for $7 quadrillion.
Shout it from the rooftops.
Tonight I'm playing Joe Baimley, former Dawnhammer, carrying a few relics of the old religious ways, but mostly preferring to rely on steel and powder these days.
Fantastic. Like I said, man, I always love getting the chance to game with new people from this community. Most of the people that I game with on a regular basis were all found doing this exact same thing, trying things out, sitting at new tables, having new people come and sit at mine. And yeah, I'm really excited to have the opportunity to game with a couple people that I have before and a couple people that I have not. So I think, without further ado, that we can finally get to this, unless there are any impending questions from anyone. No? Cool. All right, let me get this. And Dear Mr. Poole, it would appear the misfortune that the Dawnhammers unfairly forced upon your name was to be revisited upon us all. A penance for our sins, of which the Black Crusade spawned many. Mine own sins still haunt me now, I am afraid. I understand that this letter may not find you in a charitable disposition. However, I beseech you, sir. A most dire situation has befallen the village of Sandwall, and I know not where else to turn. The sea, whose very bosom we cling to for life, now seeks to infect us from within with this detestable gloam. People I have known all my life have changed beyond recognition, and the villagers now starve themselves to hold the plague at bay. Sandwall, it would seem, is now the harvest caught up in the net of this darkness, and the waters of bleak Troller's Bay are intent on bringing us in. If you choose to heed this plea for aid, which I pray you will, seek you out a Mr. Baimley along the withered road east of Cairnstead. He gathers there with an old crewmate of mine and an ordist who now make their way here to answer our call. Your former brother in arms, Zedekiah Buxton, Mayor of Sandwall. The village of Sandwall is a squalid place, never washed clean despite the nearly constant pouring of rain and the battering of the raging sea. Dilapidated row houses lean against one another, as if huddled against the storms that roll in off bleak Troller's Bay. The green glow of the gas-lit lamps seems to do little these days to hold back the oppressive darkness of the encroaching gloam. As you arrived from the withered road in the west, you noticed gray, cancerous growths clinging to places you pass. More disturbing still is that some of these growths appear to be set with red eyes that constantly dart hither and yon. So as we find the four of you arriving from the west into the rain-soaked, muddy-reeked streets of Sandwall. What are you doing? What is the mood between the four of you? Who do we see?
I think perhaps to begin setting the mood between the four of us is Joe stood almost as if at attention, keeping all three of the others well in his eyesight, fiddling with a small hunting knife, just sort of twiddling in his hands. And he looks to the others. You all saw the growths along the road on the way here.
Well, yes, I did. I didn't know much about that, but I did see them.
I don't particularly feel very welcome by them.
Poe probably examined them a bit, maybe even poked at them with some of his tools, maybe even scraped a little bit off if it's possible, just after looking at it, seeing if it was safe, if he thought it might be safe to do so, maybe even if it wasn't safe. Taking a sample is always something he might do.
Is it a mushroom?
Anything at a first glance, what it looks like it might be?
Roll me an Arcana. As an Ordist, I think you could probably have advantage on this.
25 work?
Yeah, that's really close. No, it's definitely, without a doubt, a form of Gloam. It is beginning to spread here. Either you've seen this before or you have seen it documented very well. This may be like a strange iteration or mutation, but like your mind, I would think, is made up that this is Gloam.
Then, yeah, he would definitely take a sample of it and says, looks like it's Gloam infected. Stuff is everywhere, affecting everything.
It's signs of the times, isn't it? I remember when I was younger, the Gloam came in great shadows, in black mists that rolled over cursed hills. I've never had it at my boots, not on the road, not out in the open. You'll forgive me for saying that this whole expedition seems cursed, in a way.
Isn't everything cursed?
Well, we are more than 3 days away from my rowboat, so it's close to me.
I can see why you two were chosen, but looking over at Gideon and perhaps not cowering, but there's a respect, there's a caution. And you, Mr. Poole, was it?
If you look at Gideon, he's wearing what once were the sort of the garb of the Dawnbringers, but you can tell that he probably hasn't worn these in who knows how long. The white of the black and white uniforms are grayed with age, and he's probably not wearing all the pieces. Don hammers, yes. Okay. And I down by his side is his warhammer. He just kind of keeps it where he can get to it at all times, but if you look, you can see it. There's a faint glow around the hammer, and it's just he's just keeping it there as sort of a ward almost. And he looks to Joe and he says, "Yeah, old friend of mine asked me to come here, and I guess I couldn't say no."
Yes, it's very in character for that friend of yours to be calling on a ghost, a dawn hammer, to beat back the Gloam. Wouldn't expect less of him.
So as you've kind of arrived at the edge of town and you see these growths here and there, a frog hops across, the muddied road, and you can see that this frog is devoid of color. Even in the darkness and the rain, you can see that this toad is this light gray color, the same as these cancerous growths that you have been passing. And on its back is this massive red eye that blinks every time it hops across the road. Its pupils somewhat kind of lazily looking in your direction, almost as if studying you as this toad hops across this road.
Well, I've seen some strange things before in my life, but I've never seen an eye frog.
It's a bit of a first for me as well, I must say.
Oh, good. I thought maybe I'd been at sea a little too long.
No, you seem sound of mind.
Well, you like to think so, yeah. But I don't know. This is a little strange. Maybe a pint of beer. Forget about this. Is there we don't know this town? Is there a tavern nearby?
You certainly see several buildings that look like they could at least be a public house of some sort. There's a rusted swinging sign outside one of them that you think is kind of vaguely shaped like a harpoon.
Well, that seems like my kind of place. Hopefully it's not a weapon shop. Unless the weapon shop also sells beer.
Wouldn't be surprised these days. You're very right. We could all do to put some pep in our step.
Or maybe get out of this rain.
Let's head in.
Pull the coat up around myself, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. The four of you kind of wander into this public house, and where most of us have likely seen a public house here and there full of rowdiness and music and revelry, that's not the case here. Here, the mood is dour. There are many people here who have a dark countenance about their face, their eyes somewhat cast in shadow. Without doubt, as you enter, most of the eyes in this place dart in your direction, lingering with you. as you cross the threshold. Several of them stop their whispered conversations, but you notice, while many of them might have tankards in front of them or bottles, but you see no food, no plates, no cutlery of any kind here. Not even the kind of things you would find in merely a tavern. Bread, cheese, none of that. As you approach the bar at the back of the room, there is a woman who comes from the back. She has a large tentacle of some kind over her shoulder, which she kind of slaps down onto the bar and very quickly takes her cleaver and begins to cut it into pieces. She looks up from her work as she kind of makes this loud thwack of the cleaver all the way through. Can I help you?
And sorry.
No.
I was going to say, almost intimidated by, huge tentacle. Just going to cleave this right in front of you. Like that's a power move. Joe would look to Gideon and say, Gideon, you were the presumed ringleader of this little band. Talk to the woman. Make nice.
Well, I can also try to talk to her and find out why she's serving tentacle for food. Listen, I've eaten an octopus or two. Hello, milady. Is that for food, or did you just want to chop that up for fun?
She kind of looks you up and down. Milady, you're not from around here, are you?
Well, I am certainly not from around here. That's true.
Well, to answer your question, I'm chopping it up for food. People around here need something to eat.
And I assume that all the other animals have become eye toads or other such?
Something. There's something going around and people are dying. Half of them are starving to death on purpose because they don't trust anything that comes out of the water. But people's got to eat. She makes another, chop of her cleaver.
Gideon speaks up and says, well, that actually probably has to do with why we're here.
She looks up.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Buxton had called us all to maybe come help you guys out around here.
She kind of looks up at you whenever you mention this name and kind of leans over and spits into a brass spittoon kind of sitting on the floor. Buxton could go to hell for all he's done for us.
Well, he sent us here to help rid you of this problem, I assume.
Oh, I see. Well, he's in the big house at the top of the hill. Overlooks the whole town. Acts like he's above the rest of us, too. Surprised that he's gone to the trouble. She makes another big chop. You hungry?
I take a look at the Rodrick looks over this slimy thing and says, I think that I'm fine for now. Do you happen to have any ale on hand?
Yes, I can do. One for each of you.
That would be great.
Folks won't even drink the water around here anymore. She kind of like turns around and starts to pour the drinks.
Well, I saw some of the water when I came in, and I'm not surprised.
They're calling it the fish madness. Several people have already...
The fish madness.
Well, aye.
What
You've heard of it before.
was that? Oh, I have not.
Well, seems to change people. Some kind of malady that nobody seems to understand why it's happening or where it's coming from, but most of the folks think that it's coming out of the water of the bay. Nobody drinks the water, nobody eats the food, and now everybody's just dying because of malnourishment.
Looking over that tentacle, just obviously more of a visual thing in me. Does it look like it's safe to eat, more or less? I could do a nature check. I know I'm not much hands-on, but it's more of a visual.
How about just a wisdom roll?
Oh, no. That's not, that won't. That's an intuition thing, no. But
Yeah, I would say that instinct or insight might work.
14. I did an okay roll.
You might eat this if you were starving. Maybe. But it definitely does not look like it's before its expiration date.
He doesn't, Poe doesn't say anything. He just looks at, but yeah, if he's offered the drink, he'll take it.
It's called the fish madness because it makes fish mad?
Not exactly. She kind of like looks at you for a long time. She then kind of like whacks the cleaver into the top of the countertop to free her hand from it, and kind of reaches over and rolls up, the sleeve of her other arm, and you can see that there are scales that are forming on her forearm. Seems to change people, like I said, into fish.
Well, that's interesting. But does it make you go mad?
For some, aye. Some of them have wandered off into the darkness and the wild and never seen or heard nothing from them again. Some of them have turned on their own families. It's bad here.
Oi, that sounds pretty fishy.
Actually, Poe laughs out loud and then realizes that's probably not the best thing to do, and he stops himself.
Rodrick was unintentionally funny in that particular regard. Pun not intended.
And so, as all this is going on, Joe's been rather quiet, and he sees the scales on the arm, and his eyes are transfixed for a moment. Definitely, it's rude. He's not being polite about it. And after a moment passes, perhaps a silence, he looks to this woman and he says, "So old Zed, old Mr. Buxton up in his grand palace, as it were. I haven't seen the man in some time. Is he sound? Has he been partaking of the fish?"
Can't say. Nobody's seen him in better on part of a week. Stays up in that big old house of his. Could be dead for all I know. We'd be so lucky. She then makes another cut with the cleaver.
Well, certainly seems like the Zed I recall, if he's engendered such a passive dislike in the townsfolk. We're going to have to go up there and see if he's fine, aren't we?
I think he would want to see us if he called us.
If it was him that called us. I'm being overly pessimistic.
Oh, I
This'll
think
be
so. We've got nice ale here. There's no reason to think that everything's bad.
And the eyes start back to the scales. You're right. Nothing good ever came of naysaying and bitter reminiscing. No. My dear, is there anything we need to be watching out for? You're saying people are going mad. Are the streets safe?
For you lot, if you stick together, perhaps. I wouldn't get on the wrong side of anyone, if that's what you're asking.
Never my intention, no.
I might get on the wrong side of someone somewhere, but we'll try not to. Oh, how much is all this ale, by the way? I have plenty of gold.
Gold, you say? Well,
Do you not?
one gold
do you
would
not
cover it
use
all.
Gold here? Is it?
Oh, we accept all kinds of currency.
Well, okay. Well, I was just wondering about the fish madness, and we don't know much about anything else. So I'll just go ahead and slap a gold on the counter.
She picks it up and immediately puts it in between her teeth and bites it.
Oh, it's
She kind
you.
of nods approvingly. Much thanks to you. You lot can finish up and just leave your dirty tankards here on the end of the bar. If you see Buxton, tell him he can go to hell.
Was already on my list.
Probably anyone who's watching, when Poe got the drink, he pulls out a metal straw and he drinks it out of the straw.
Oh, not removing a mask again, I see.
He remains silent to that.
Bound to be some herbs and ground spices and magic poultices and whatnot in there. It's oldest things, the usual.
I still think that he's got a big scar or something on his face that he doesn't want to show anyone. In fact, I think it's time that we actually have a wager over this. One gold says he's got a big scar.
How about this? And he sort of rummages through his pockets for anything worth like a trivial bet. And he's got nothing. And he pulls out 3 wax bound flintlock rounds. He says 3 bullets.
Oh, I think that I would like to do that. And I pull out the bullets as well.
All right.
Because Rodrick never passes up friendly wagers, ever. I mean, friendly. There's some non-friendly wagers that exist out there, but this is a friendly one, right? Yeah.
Let's just hope we've got 3 bullets spare by the time this is all done.
Well, there's that pessimism again.
It's insidious, isn't it?
Well, I forgive you. It's not great out there right now. Eye frogs are a thing that do shake someone up.
And sort of breathing in this damp air. We're in this tavern that's half a degree warmer than outside.
Well, it's not floating on the water, so it's an improvement for me.
Let's see to business, shall we? And Joe had put down this mug of ale, maybe half finished. He doesn't particularly care for it.
Rodrick is fully drunk by that time anyway, and starts looking around and being like, "You're just going to leave that just half drunk there? Paid for that."
Call me squeamish.
All right. And then he drinks it.
There you go.
Gideon has finished his and sets it down and looks to everyone like, is everyone ready?
Slurping from Poole's direction.
Just this.
I'm done.
All right, so you finish your drinks, and you might even, maybe once you're somewhat alone, break out a few trail rations or something to kind of tide you over. I would imagine that you had expected to be able to eat once you got here off of the road, and now hearing this, you may not have an appetite for anything that they would be serving. So you kind of resort to nibbling on your rations, for the time being at least, as you prepare yourselves to head back out into the storm that is just absolutely berating this town, and make your way up the hill to the manor house that houses Zedekiah Buxton, the mayor. Is there anything that transpires between here and there? Anything that you say or that we see your characters kind of doing before the knock on the manor house door?
I think you'd see Joe sort of side-eyeing everyone, sort of weighing something up in his mind, and just without saying anything, slings the rifle from off his shoulder and just loads a round in, trying to keep the powder dry from the bucketing rain, sort of hunched over thick leathers.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same sort of thing that on the walk that Rodrick would go ahead and check the pepper box, because it gets wet, and when it gets wet, it fails, and so he's probably just kind of clearing it out to try to make sure that it doesn't have any like wet powder hanging around, especially in a pepper box, which is full of it in these little compartments. So, I mean, I guess the two of us are just messing with guns as we walk down the way. Not
Yeah, I imagine
suspicious at all.
Right? I imagine, you might have like one of these wide brim, almost like pilgrim looking hats, or like the tricorns that help kind of keep, as much of the rain off of you as you can. And you kind of got your guns kind of held up, kind of close to your chest, or maybe even inside of like the, whatever slicker that you wear, kind of, getting the, the powder dry and making sure that it's covered against this horrible weather. And as you kind of make your way through the streets, again, lit by this green, eerie glow of the Blaugas lamps that kind of line this main thoroughfare, it kind of casts these dark, greenish colored shadows on everything, this kind of harsh downlighting. And again, just like the hats that kind of keep the weather off of yourselves, many of the villagers here in Sandwall likewise have these wide brim hats. You can see little more than things like pipe smoke coming from underneath them. They're so shrouded in these dark green shadows. But everywhere you walk, everywhere you turn, without a doubt, the eyes of these villagers watch you walk past. None of them say anything. None of them stand in your path, but every single villager watches you with more than a little interest.
And noticing this, Joe would turn again to Gideon, and Poole, and he might say something. You two don't do subtlety, do you?
So what? I didn't hear that. Could you repeat that?
You two don't do subtlety, do you?
Well, I mean, he wears a big mask.
Big mask, big attention, big eyes, always watching.
And Gideon sort of ignores this this question, and what you may or may not realize is he's sort of scanning the surroundings, and I'd like to use my divine sense. It says,
Okay, yeah.
to the end of your next turn, you know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet of you that's not behind total cover. You also detect the presence of any consecrated or desecrated place or object. So,
Excellent. Okay. How does this manifest for Gideon?
like I said, you've been noticing sort of, you might notice like the light glow from his, like sort of just a white glow from his hammer, but round the side of the hammer is where his holy symbol is emblazoned, and the edges of the holy symbol sort of glow with a warm red light, and sort of you might see a faint glow come across his eyes, not enough to like draw too much attention, but just
Right.
sort of like the sense that he can sort of see, and almost like things kind of gain a haze if they fall under one of these categories.
Okay. So kind of casting this filter over your own vision, Gideon, looking around, you notice every single villager that you walk past is touched by desecration. The kind of desecration that you would likely already associate with Gloam. Whatever that looks like to Gideon, whatever hazy filter that kind of falls upon objects that are shrouded in Gloam, that's what you see in pieces of every villager that you pass. In every cancerous growth that you pass that has this kind of red eye feature to it, like radiates this same filter.
I imagine it looks like to Gideon, it looks like an inky smoke, sort of like a glowing black as it sort of fogs off of these entities. And he would kind of, as sort of he gets enough information for himself, and he sort of dispels this, and he kind of just, without speaking too loudly or turning and everything, he sort of just speaks a little to the group, and he said, the Gloam surely is everywhere here.
And I think, picking up on your meaning somewhat, looking towards you, seeing your eyes change slightly, looking at everyone, Joe would say, accursed are those touched by the Gloam, dragged down to the depths. Blessed are those touched by the Gloam, that we might renew the creed within them.
That was nice. Did you hear that somewhere?
Old fairy tales. Keeps me calm.
Okay. You kind of tighten up the collars of your jackets against this driving rain and make your way slogging kind of up this hill now, perhaps a little thankful that you're off the main thoroughfare and it's not as trodden, it's not as muddy, it's not the kind of muck that tries to suck the boots off of your feet every time you take a step. Now the ground has more rock to it, it has more grass, and you're able to find purchase easier as you begin climbing up the kind of winding path that leads up the hillside to this large manor house. And as you approach, you kind of step up onto the porch, maybe, knock the mud off of your boots a little, maybe, dump your hat to get to the water that is kind of gathered there. You knock upon the door, and you hear no reply. No stirring from within. The second knock, perhaps a little harder. As you rap upon the door, it slowly opens under the weight of your knock, revealing the dark and dry abode on the other side.
Zed never did know how to greet a guest.
I'm kind of curious to know why he just leaves his door unlocked.
It's a good question. It's a good question. And with that, Joe just looks to his hip, thinks for a moment, and takes out sort of a bog standard old dagger. Just like, can't be too careful.
I agree. Rodrick will also pull out a dagger. But his looks like it's sort of not the greatest quality, like it's been fashioned out of bits. The kind of thing that, he doesn't have a fancy one, but only because fancy ones kind of go missing when you're on a ship with a bunch of people, or they fall off the side of the boat. And so it's just like a typical like hunk of wood for a handle with a blade sticking out of it that's been sort of rope tied together kind of thing.
Probably forgot to mention, I got caught up in my description and everyone else's. Poe is accompanied by a metallic box-like construct, and it has like carries around like a chest on its attached to it, and it's like a dark metallic. It's probably pitted in some places and stuff. It's not like high quality, and it creaks every once in a while as it's walking by.
So when we were walking through the city, there was this like robot thing walking behind us carrying a chest.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
I think that would have probably been the reason people were staring at us more than the mask.
Well, it's probably a combination of the two.
Well, if you're cool with it, let's play into it. Maybe it's been so dark, so rainy, this thing, I don't know, stays close to you or in your shadow. And as we're creaking open this door, getting a strange vibe about the place, perhaps it brushes up against one of our legs or creaks, and like Joe's head maybe snaps, and he's like, and he looks at it, and he looks like he's almost about to lunge to stab it, but it doesn't look like something of the Gloam. And in a hushed voice, that where did that come from?
Oh, what? Oh, that's Nevermore. Don't mind him. He cares my things, keeps me safe sometimes. Oh. Just something I threw together my spare time.
Artists. And he looks towards Gideon.
Gideon sort of kind of looks Poe up and down and kind of rolls his eyes a little, but doesn't really make a comment about it.
So as the four of you have now kind of stepped out of the weather, kind of pushing open this door a little more, perhaps, you hear no reply from within. The only sound you can hear is your own boots kind of on the creaking floorboards of this manor house as you step inside. Things look unkempt, not to the point where it looks like it's been ransacked or turned upside down by anyone. It's more like it's just been left untouched for a few days. You know, the damp has kind of started to gather, you know, on surfaces, and you can kind of feel a chill in the air. Everybody, if you would, please roll perception checks. Okay. Okay, cool. Gideon's 15. Baimley's got an 8. Rodrick with a 19. All right, what about you, Poe?
Paul has to like look down.
Yeah, I imagine it's a pain in the butt.
I had to check the modifier for Nevermore.
Okay. So Gideon, Rodrick, so everybody except for Baimley, you all are fairly certain that you hear the crackling of a fire coming from deeper within the manor.
Is there a candle or anything nearby the door?
Yeah, absolutely. You probably have to, you know, like pull it out of its little, you know, holder or whatever it is on the wall,
Sure.
but there's certainly some there.
Yeah, I'm gonna use like a like my tinder box or whatever and get it lit, and then like have that, so we're not just walking into this dark house and wandering around.
Actually,
but also
while you're lighting that, Poe hands you opens a bag and hands you something. It looks like there's a strap with a little box on the end, and he goes, "You just open it up and light shines out, and then you just close it. And you can just attach it to your head here." And he hands one to everyone.
Rodrick goes, puts it in his pocket. Never to be seen again. But still lights the candle.
It's basically a 5-foot radius of light if you decide to use it.
Oh yeah.
And then dim light, that's bright light, and then dim light for 5 more feet.
Nice. That's very perfectly Gloam too. Paul, that's badass.
Does anyone? Well, okay. So Rodrick takes one but puts it in his pocket.
Yep.
Does Joe or Gideon take any?
I think Joe definitely would. And he'd look at you like thankfully, like there's thanks in his eyes, but he takes it and all he says is artists.
And Gideon would sort of nod and take it, and he would use it. He would just, probably handheld. He probably wouldn't put it on, but he'd carry it around and use it.
Yeah, I guess it has a strap. He shows he puts it on. He attaches it to the top of his mask or something, and then but yeah, he goes, just adjust the straps wherever you want to use it.
Excellent. So
actually, I apologize. He doesn't attach it to his. He puts it on Nevermore's head.
There you go. Okay. So from the candlelight that Rodrick now carries and the soft kind of glow of these Ortist boxes that Poe has given to Gideon and to Nevermore, you begin to kind of make your way deeper into the house. Again, the only thing that seems to greet your senses is this kind of damp covered interior and the sound of a crackling fire coming from deeper within.
I'm obviously Rodrick is going to head toward the sound because either it's danger or it's a friend, right? It's one of the two, and so either way, that's going to be the best place to go. I mean, also this is someone's house. You don't want to wander around aimlessly in someone's house and then have them bump into you and be like, "What are you doing in my house, random person?" Because while Roderick has been known to take a thing or two in the past, he doesn't want to be accused of taking a thing when he hasn't actually taken anything, aside from maybe a candle.
So it sounds like Roderick is leading the way, heading deeper into the house. Do the rest of you follow? Or are you headed in a different direction?
Yeah, Joe would keep, maybe a pace or two behind Roderick.
Gideon, he heard the fire and he says he feels that that's where they need to go.
I guess Poole would take up the rear. Nevermore.
Okay. You make your way kind of down past the staircase that leads to the upper floors. Kind of walk underneath, kind of where it forms a little bit of an archway above you, into a hall that kind of stretches back towards the back of this manor house. You can tell this is the most trafficked area of the house because here the boards creak even louder than whenever you kind of had passed the threshold. Every step that you take, it seems almost a betrayal in this dark, quiet sanctuary that you've kind of found yourselves in, and it gives away your presence. But there's still no response, there's still no reply to your footfalls until you smell it. You start to smell that overpowering, fetid smell of rot and decay. And as you end near the end of this hall, you can see that there is a door closed. Beneath the door, there is this flickering orange light that is cast just a few inches past the door frame. And unmistakably, that smell is coming from that room.
Well, I don't know what's going on here, but should I open this door or burn this place to the ground?
If someone were out to get us in this place, I think they already would have just opened the door, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Well, I'm glad you finally have some optimism. No, open the door slowly with the end of my knife because I don't want to drop anything or take anything out of my hands.
Let's try the mute button instead. Yikes. Nothing like giving it away early, Jeremy. You open the door and it creaks every bit as much as your footfalls have, betraying your presence here in this house. As the door creaks open to reveal like a sitting room, you can see a few chairs kind of turned towards the fire that is in the hearth. The fire is burning merrily. It has been stoked and stacked high. There are plates and bowls and cutting boards stacked and set all around this room, kind of increasing in density as they get closer and closer to the only occupied chair in this room. For those of you who know Zedekiah Buxton, the dwarf sits huddled in this chair, You can see clearly the left side of his face is pallid, is drawn. His hair is thinned, stringy. And he sits hunched over, huddled in layers of blankets, just kind of staring towards the fire. Even the creaking of the door, as tremendously loud as it was to you, he does not seem to have registered any noise or disturbance.
And Joe, seeing Zed look so emaciated, almost so unwell, he sort of cautiously calls out and he says, Zed, it's Joe. No. The Baimley boy, young Joe. You remember me? You called for me. You doing all right? And he starts gently approaching.
Rodrick will reach out and just try to put his hand up and go, "I don't have a good feeling about this."
Look, neither do I, but Zed's not. Zed's people. Zed's good people. I owe it to him to at least check on him.
Let my hand down. Let Baimley go.
I'm on. Oh, sorry.
No, you begin to kind of cross the floor, Joe, having called out to him. But again, there's no recollection. There's no response, even from his body language or his face. He simply reaches out with the poker and kind of stokes the fire again. Again, it doesn't need it. It's burning cheerily, but he seems to do this almost autonomously.
Come on, Zed. You know, old Joe, son of Terrence, the Baimleys, you know, blessed are the mouths reciting the creed, blessed are the ears hearing the creed. You know, that old chestnut. Come on. One of you remember us. Remember me. You remember me. Come on. And it's getting closer.
It's about that time, yeah, Joe, that you have kind of like gotten closer and closer and kind of worked your way around, like maybe this other chair that's kind of seated opposite of where he is, that you kind of come around the front of him, or at least a more frontward angle, and you can see that the right half of his face is mutated, is covered in this kind of grayish, pale, cancerous growth, so much so that it seems to have eaten away some of the flesh of his face and of his cheek. The eye is completely colored white and is covered over by this almost this membranous like veining that these growths seem to have. And there are small little bubbles within this growth that you think you see pupils inside of.
And he's still not moving, like he's just sort of autonomously doing his thing.
It's only whenever you get like within 5 feet or so that he kind of seems to rouse ever so slightly, kind of looks up in your direction, and you can see like a confusion cross his face. Do I know you, sir?
Yeah. Way back 20, 25 years. Remember Dawnhammers? Back in the heyday.
I fought with the Dawnhammers. The Black Crusades it was. Are you a Dawnhammer?
My dad was. You worked with him.
Did I?
And it's about that time that sort of Gideon comes up around the other side of him and tries to see if he recognizes him at all.
And Gideon, you notice on the other side of him as you kind of come up, the same thing. This right side of him seems to be overtaken by this gloam that seems to basically like half swallow him. And when you're on the right-hand side, he doesn't seem to pay you any attention at all, as if he can't see you. But if you cross far enough to kind of get in front of him, more on his left side, and close enough, again, probably within 5 feet or so, he then kind of like looks up in your direction. You, sir, are you a Dawnhammer?
I was.
The son of a Dawnhammer and a Dawnhammer. This is good
do I recognize
tidings.
him? Because I was with
yeah,
Joe's father.
because you served in, then I think you would as well.
He steps up. Sorry, what was his name again? I totally blanked.
Zed.
Zed, is that you?
There's a third voice. He kind of like looks for a moment, strains kind of in your direction, Poe, until you are close enough. That face. I know that face from somewhere.
I really don't have a very good feeling about this, boys.
Another.
And Joe would shoot Rodrick a bit of a dirty eye. None of us do. Man's ill.
Ill with the fish madness, it seems.
Gideon would kind of get to where Zed could see him and be like, and try to keep his attention as long as he can and say, Zed, I don't know that you remember, but you called us to help. What is it we need to do?
I called you to help. I don't know. There's something wrong. Something that's chasing us. Something that's eating us. I don't remember. You sure it was me that wrote to you?
Had your name on it.
I see. There's something strange here. I can feel it in my bones.
I think I feel it too.
It's not just the rain outside. It's something from the bay. There's eyes on us now. There's things watching us everywhere. I don't feel safe. I don't remember things. I think that I might be dying.
Is there anything you can remember? Anything that you could, any guidance, place for us to start?
There was an Ordist that came. He'd been sent by the Baroness. Came here for some reason. He came, and all of this started the day that he moved into the profane chapel. Was
his name Jonathan Schlick?
He kind of looks again, searching the room, Poe, and his eye kind of settling on you. Aye, that was what it was. Jonathan Schlick, that's his name. They called him Slimy Jack.
It's like the name of a pirate. I don't think I like that too much.
Pirate, I don't think so, but he was sent here on official orders business, I think. The Baroness,
Slimy Jack was sent on official business.
Well, the Baroness sent him, so that's about as official as you can get here.
Still sounds like a pirate.
You're one to talk.
Oh, I know pirates. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like a pirate.
I'm saying you sound like a pirate, mate.
Was that a joke about the way that I talk?
And paying it no mind at all, Joe turns to Zed and he says, Zed, mate, there's not a whole lot we can do for you. But do you, I imagine, I don't know, in my head, I pictured Zed as a smoker. Do you still smoke?
I think I'd like to. Aye.
And I think without making a big show of it, Joe would sort of dig around in his pack and pull out some herbs, not tobacco. He's trying to give him something that would at least ease any pain or let him breathe a little steadier. Sort of grinds up a little bit of plant matter in a small metal thimble almost, packs it into a pipe. Oh, Zed. And he hands him the pipe.
He kind of takes it from you. I'd hate to trouble you further, but I'm awfully powerful hungry. Could use something to eat and something to wet my palate with. You have any ale, water, even? Maybe some fish. It would be excellent.
I'd stay away from the fish.
He kind of looks confused.
Well, she said people have to eat something.
I've got and excuse me, Zed looks unwell, and I'm looking through what bits of food I have, and it's hardtack and like incredibly salty jerky, and there's gonna rip a hole in this man's throat. And he goes ferreting, and he finds like a few like seeds and nuts, like a ramshackle granola.
So this is Rodrick steps up at this point. He goes, "Let me show you how we take care of this on the ship." And he takes some of the hardtack, takes some things. He starts mixing like a little bit of the water he's got in his water skin, trying to soften it up. Because on ships it's a lot of dried, salty foods. So he does his best to try to make it like palatable in a way. But this is the first time now he's seen the man at the full front. And he just kind of tries not to make a face, but he's certainly making a face. Hands it back to you.
Yeah, you kind of make this almost like porridge, type thing. Is kind of tack that's just basically softened to the point of breaking apart with a few, nuts and fruit, perhaps even kind of like mixed in. Mm-hmm. And he kind of eats it with a fervor, but it's part of his mouth is missing, and he's not very strong. So there's quite a bit of it that kind of ends up in his beard and kind of down the front of this blanket that he has drawn around himself. It's
I was going to ask
definitely
you
a pathetic sight.
This blanket and this fire. We don't know what's going on here, but are you cold?
There's a terrible draft that's set in, and I cannot seem to throw it off.
Did it start at the same time as all of this?
All of what?
Oh, nothing. Never mind.
Forgive me. I am unwell, sir.
What? My apologies. Just trying to find out about the blanket.
Are you cold as well? I'm sure we can find another blanket for you.
Oh, well, that's very nice, but I'm fine now, thank you.
He continues to eat this kind of gruel, and finishes it quickly, and then kind of turns to this pipe, kind of strikes a matchstick nearby and lights it. Again, he has a little bit of a difficulty kind of supporting the pipe with just his hand, clenches it in his teeth and puffs on it. The smoke kind of rolling out of the holes kind of in the side of his cheek every time he kind of inhales. Oh, it's been a long time. Thank you. Kind of looks at you, Joe.
Think nothing of it. Listen, Zed, we're gonna have to go. We've got some business to attend to that you've called us to attend to.
Did I? He kind of looks at you with renewed confusion on his face.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Just a couple jobs around town. Don't worry about it. But and Joe sort of tosses it up in his mind, thinking about it, and he says, my dad's doing well. He talks about you a lot.
I know your dad.
Yeah, no, he's always telling grand stories about you. Back in the good old days, you two did a lot together.
Did he sail on my crew?
He worked with you as a Dawnhammer a long time ago.
The Dawnhammers. There's a word I've not heard in a long time. I was once a Dawnhammer.
Yeah, I remember you were like thunder made a man.
I was back in the Black Crusades, it was. Dark times. Dark times.
Dark
That
times.
they were. But things don't look like they're getting any better now.
Think about this time Gideon starts sort of he looks at everybody except Joe and sort of starts mentally telling, look, let's turn and let's start to head towards the door,
Yeah, it's very clear that this guy is just not, he's just not with it, entirely.
Yeah, one of those look at us and then kind of go nod, kind of tilt your head, and we're like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. At least Rodrick gets it. Starts heading toward the door.
Looks at take care, stay comfy. I'll leave you some water and a little more tobacco, a little more herb for your pipe there. Stay warm, stay comfy. I'll be back later. I'll tell you stories.
I would like that, sir. Thank you very much for your kindness. I wish I were a better host.
You've been a plenty good host in the past. it's paying it forward, I guess.
He then kind of
I'd best be
returns to stoking the fire, and you are free to then go about your business. So as you
And sorry,
yeah, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, Joe just walks with that very, I have a somewhere to be, and I don't know where it is. Walk, just out the door.
Rodrick was standing by the door because he opened it and then he'll close it, to be polite. But he'll turn to Joe and say, Joe, I don't think your friend is doing very well, but at least he remembered this is his house.
Maybe he did. Maybe.
That, now I understand the fish madness.
Yeah. Yeah, we yeah. Yeah.
It's only a matter of time when the Gloam gets us all and Poe starts walking away.
Gideon would sort of look at everyone and be like, I believe that we need to make a visit to the profane chapel.
Yeah, that's certainly next on the agenda. That's what we've got to do. Slimy Jack, right?
That's what he said.
Or the pirate. Now, I did want to point out one problem that maybe no one's thinking of, and it just maybe something I think of all the time. But I only have one water skin, and we can't drink the water here because of. I don't want to turn into him.
I don't plan to be here long. A few water skins will last us until we leave.
Okay, then I think we're all on the same page, and then we can get out of here as soon as we can.
As soon as the work's done. Can't leave until the work's done. Not
Okay.
now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because like being on a ship all the time, Roderick's like, water management is a thing.
Totally.
Do I know if Purify Food and Drink can deal with mild cases of the Gloam in this case? Like obviously it's not gonna. Does it fall under disease in that sense?
Is it a mild case?
That's well, yeah. This.
Yeah, I would say that that's not something that you've necessarily had to do before. Like, while the Gloam has been kind of pushing in from the wilds and things like that around civilization, I think this is probably the first indication, at least widespread, that you have seen of food and water itself being contaminated.
I think might be able to help with the water situation once we deal with it, or maybe we collect some of this water falling all around us. Food might be a little more tricky, but if we solve the problem, then maybe I can do something.
Okay. So it sounds like then the plan is to head towards the profane chapel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Is there anything that you would like to do or touch on before we move things to that point?
Not in any great detail, but I think on the way there, Joe would just sidle up to Gideon and would gently start recounting stories of Zed that he'd heard from his dad.
And I think that through there's light conversation on the way to the chapel, Joe would learn that Zed's probably one of the few dawn hammers that Gideon has any respect for. I don't know that he goes into detail about why, but you can certainly tell that Gideon does not respect his mantle as a dawn hammer, due to his, the way he carries his uniform and whatnot. But yeah.
Brad.
Excellent. All right. So as we see the four of you head back out into this torrential downpour, and make your way down this big hill towards the edge of town, kind of the opposite edge of where you've arrived, more on the northern side. We can see more of these cancerous growths, like the plates that had the rotted food and such. As you got closer to Zed, so too the cancerous growths that you see begin to become denser and denser as you make your way towards this building. And I think that's where we're going to go ahead and take our break. So we're going to take a 10-minute break, go to the bathroom, refill our drinks, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. Yeah, this has been fantastic so far. This is a really, really fun setting to dive into. I've had a lot of fun with this, and I'm really eager to get to the second part of what we have planned this evening. So if you're watching along, then thank you very much. Sit tight, and we will be right back. All right, we are back with Shadows Under Sandwall. This is a one-shot that is set in the world of Gloam, as presented by Absolute Tabletop in their adventure kit, Shadows over Driftchapel, and it is being mixed with Sewers Under Sandwall, an adventure that they wrote very early on in their kind of existence. Both of them are fantastic products, and I highly recommend that you go check them out if you don't already have them. We're playing tonight as part of Not at Con, kind of an online unofficial celebration of Absolute Tabletop and the community that they have built around this brand. Just a group of fantastic human beings. And I'm really, really happy that I have the opportunity to run a game for this convention, especially because it is going to benefit a charity called Game to Grow. And you can find the link for Game to Grow, both their webpage and a link that you can use to donate directly to them in the description of this video. And please do take the time to go do that. It's a wonderful charity, and the fact that we get to tell spooky stories and roll dice and benefit it is, I mean, why the hell would you not? So super excited to get back into this if everyone is ready. Excellent. So we find ourselves once again in the city of Sandwall. It is a grimy place that is covered in regret, as somebody has recently just told me. Sadness drapes over everything here, that is saturated with the damp of the constant ill weather. But it's more than that. It's something else kind of penetrates the timbers of the buildings here and the people, despite how they may dress against this weather. There's a saturation of an ill omen. Something dark lives here, just out of sight. And now it seems that this gloam that penetrates everything now is also growing in plain sight. These kind of gray, cancerous growths that you see on everything. Roofs of houses, garden walls, the frogs even. These red eyes that kind of peer out of these twisted, gnarled tumors. These eyes that watch you as you pass, just like the eyes of the villagers who live here in Sandwall. And as you make your way back down this thoroughfare, this main muck-lined street, the green glow of the gaslight lighting your way, you see in the distance, not far from where you now tread a path, a building situated off of the edge of the seaside cliff on the northern shore of Sandwall. At one time, the stone, the rock beneath this chapel and its walkway would have stretched from the bottom of these structures all the way down to the water. But with the wrath of the sea, the waves of Bleak Trawler's Bay hammering the ground beneath this chapel, it has crumbled and eroded. And now there is nothing more than a rickety bridge that connects the two. And the chapel itself, or what remains of it, seems to be precariously perched on the edge of this seaside cliff overlooking the bay. What would you like to do?
Well, that looks a bit dangerous, don't you think?
It's no more dangerous than any other place we've been today. You can just see it more clearly now.
Was that some kind of commentary on the people in the city?
I would never. He says with the first hint of a joke in his voice.
Honestly,
A whole new side of you there, Joe. With your constant joking and poking fun at people.
Gideon
Some
says,
people
honestly, I'd rather die falling to my death than being taken over by the Gloam.
Ending up like Zed, certainly.
Well,
The fall is
true.
quick.
Well, I guess if I was going to die, I would not want to die of drowning, but falling from a cliff might be quick and painless.
Fear of drowning is mighty funny for a sailor.
Well, truth is, we're all kind of worried that we're going to fall off the ship and drown to death. Sort of a common sailor problem. Pretty much just hazard of the job.
Just starts coughing the steep, like maybe congested cough. Maybe he's just getting over some a cold or something. And he says, maybe let's just go. Maybe I'll go first. If you want to stay here and just wait, but I'm going to find if it is Jonathan, just like find out why he's here and what's going on. And Poe just starts crossing over.
I think that I might be losing this one. That was a mighty cough in there. I assume there's some kind of poultice and herbs now that I think about it. You might be onto something, Joe.
You'd better follow along. 3 bullets on the line. And he just walks off after Poe.
Of course, Rodrick will follow right behind. Well, good point.
Gideon takes up the rear and sort of just scans the surroundings as they cross the bridge.
Now, question is there like an automaton following him, or is it following Gideon?
Probably following me.
All right. All of you, as you are making your way onto this kind of rickety footbridge, what remains of it, you can see that the density of the growths here on this bridge are going to make traversing this difficult without likely coming into contact with some of this. So, each of you have a choice to make. You can either make a dexterity roll, a dexterity check, so acrobatics would work in this case, to cross this bridge, or you can opt out of doing so.
Maybe would so you're saying to go across we'll have to like hold on to the hand to the railing or something?
Yeah, there's enough of this growth and or the crumbling stones that kind of formed this that it's going to be dangerous picking your way across, and your caution is either going to have to be applied to avoiding this stuff or, you know, taking it easy on the on where you're stepping and taking the chance of making contact.
How long is the bridge?
40 feet.
Would a rope help if it was tied to the other side?
It would help if you fell.
Poe reaches into his backpack and he pulls out this rope. It's and I'm trying to figure out how to describe an invention rope, I guess. And he holds on one end and he points out the end, and it starts moving forward on its own, crossing the bridge. And then it'll eventually reach the end and tie itself to the other end. And it could secure on this side as well.
So kind of a rope to hold on to as you cross?
Yes, you said 40 feet?
Mm-hmm.
It'll actually knot itself every 1 foot intervals.
Okay. So there's now this rope, this knotted rope that kind of is strung horizontally, maybe, you know, kind of down the middle, so you can kind of like hold on to either side of it or whatnot. So yeah, anybody who is going to... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, probably go on an angle from one corner to the opposite corner, so that if that helps a bit, so it's not, you're not walking right against one railing.
Okay. So anybody who is taking the route of the acrobatics check, you can roll with advantage if you use this rope.
I still have 11 because the roll that I rolled was 1 for the advantage roll. So
okay.
11.
All right. So Baimley, you managed to cross this bridge with very little trouble. You know, you're kind of careful of where you're picking your footfalls, taking a few risks here when you have to avoid this growth of gloam. But you manage to cross with no ill effect. Poe, same. You manage to kind of make your way across with no problems whatsoever, avoiding the gloam. We're gonna handle Gideon first. Gideon, you avoid the careful footwork of your compatriots and instead opt to just kind of somewhat plod along where things seem to be a little more secure. However, this definitely puts you in contact with these growth, these tumorous kind of things that are everywhere here. And I need you, if you would please, to roll me... Where is this? Okay, so I need you to roll a sanity check. So you're going to take your sanity die. You're going to roll that and tell me what you get.
And to clarify, he's rolling a whiz save or a charisma save, is that right? Or is it just a D, or is it just a D something or other for a sanity madness roll?
Yeah. So, it is a saving throw first.
I was thinking, from what I read in the madness section, that you can either have madness triggered like on a failed save, or you can just have a madness roll, which is just rolling your madness die and it downgrades on a 1 or a 2. So whichever you think is appropriate, you know, save first or just straight to the roll. Take your pick.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do a wisdom saving throw for this one.
$14.
14. Okay, and roll a d12 for me.
4.
Okay. And then let's roll your sanity die and see how that goes.
Roll a 5.
5. Okay. At one point, the cobblestone kind of beneath your foot gives way, and you have to kind of quickly shift your weight over to the side, which means that your hand kind of hits the railing of this kind of stone bridge and just slides like underneath one of these growths, kind of somewhat separating it from where it's kind of rooted in place. And you kind of very quickly jerk your hand back. And as you kind of pull your hand back, you swear that the shadow that was created underneath this thing that had been kind of pushed up seems to reach out for you, trying to maintain a grasp on your hand. And as you kind of like jerk your hand back, you have a moment where it starts to kind of freak you out, but you manage to get yourself under control and realize that you either were just seeing things or at least perhaps the danger has passed. All right, Rodrick. You have been trying to carefully pick your way across this bridge to avoid these disturbing looking tumors.
Have been, yeah.
Have been, and you make it about halfway across this bridge or so, and at the point where Gideon has stepped on this stone and caused it to kind of loosen and fall away, when that stone falls, it hits one of these wooden supports and just takes that thing out, and a part of the bridge where you're kind of carefully navigating begins to crumble and fall under its weight, and you try your best to leap out of the way, but it comes out from underneath of you, and you begin to fall downwards.
Reaction?
Yeah, make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Okay. Hoo-to-doo. Ooh, why die? Why you gotta be like this? So that would be a whole total of 8.
And
Okay.
I would like to cast a spell as a reaction.
Okay. That is a reaction spell, or you have like a feature that lets you do that with an action spell, or?
It is a spell
Okay,
with
cool.
a reaction on it. And as he starts falling, since he's probably not cast a spell in front of anyone before, this is something strange. Black tentacles, I guess, shoot out from underneath his clothing and grab onto Rodrick and basically start to slow his fall. So until we can try to grab him. So he starts falling in slow motion while this inky black tentacle is around his arm, I guess.
Boy, don't know what this is.
All right, so Rodrick begins to kind of like fall downwards, I'm assuming somewhat like a feather. And, you know, these black tentacles are kind of grasping, but it's almost like they're not entirely corporal, I imagine. So like they can grab for a moment, but they, you know, almost immediately dissipate and reform and grab again. That's kind of how it's slowing his descent at the moment. Baimley, it sounded like you had something.
Yeah, so in response to this, if I may, sort of this simultaneous reaching into my pack for a rope to throw to Rodrick, sort of the sudden shock as he fell, and then this wide-eyed sort of glare almost to Poe as he summoned forth, you know, what might as well be the Gloam itself. And he throws the rope down for Rodrick to hopefully catch while he's saying, "What? You better okay. You better start helping me haul, and you better start explaining yourself." And he's waiting for Rodrick to hopefully catch the rope.
All right, Baimley. Let's get an attack roll from you. Let's make it a thrown attack.
Sure. So strength. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh, it's a 3.
Oh my god. Okay. So you
Dice
kind of
are
like
wanting Rodrick to fall.
Yeah,
That's what the
you
dice
kind
are
of
saying.
like toss this coil of rope out there, making sure to like, you know, step on one end of it or, you know, hold on to one end of it or what have you. And you realize that as you kind of go to toss this, that this rope is completely saturated with all of the rain that you have been in the last several days. And this as you kind of like go to throw it, you feel like a twinge in your shoulder as like the unexpected weight of this really kind of takes hold, and you toss this out, and you kind of feel that pain of like a muscle tweak as you kind of toss this out, and it goes maybe half the distance before like immediately starting to fall and uncoil down towards the broken rocks down below.
Wouldn't it be better to use my other rope? And it starts moving slowly, but I guess I think it moves 10 feet. Or else I pull on it, so it unhooks on either end. I pull it closer, attach it to somewhere stable nearby, and drop the end down to attach to, I guess, his arm or his waist.
Okay, well, hold on just 1 second. Hold on.
Yeah.
Like you've got the spell that you've got going right now that you cast as a reaction. Was it Featherfall?
It was Featherfall, yes.
Okay, which he falls at. How far does he fall around again? Because he might reach the bottom before you would have the chance to act again, is why I'm asking. Does it say? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 60 feet per round until the spell ends, and then no falling damage.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, it's probably 40 feet down. So by the time that you're kind of getting the far end of this rope unhooked and starting to kind of like bring it back towards you and move it downward, Rodrick, you have fallen, though slowed, perhaps thankfully, and you are able to kind of land uneasily on some of these kind of broken chunks of rock that are sticking up all jagged down here. Now, you're a sailor, so you're used to being on the deck of a ship and just being pounded by the spray from the waves and the wind. That's absolutely what this situation is down here. You know, it's at a pitched angle. You're kind of having to like adjust your balance, and you're just constantly getting sprayed by these splashes of this like angry foaming sea that's all around you. So yeah.
Well, at least I still have my sea legs, but well, I don't know what that was. And the weird like inky blackness like grabbing at me. It's not something that Roderick's kind of okay with. Like, well, it did, and then like I'm like draw the blade, like trying to fight this off. Like it, like I know that it saved me in theory, but at the same time, I don't know if it was trying to do that or trying to just grab me out of nowhere. Right, like all of a sudden, inky blackness just started grabbing at me as I fell.
And I imagine, like, even in this kind of a setting where, you know, Ordist magic in particular kind of taps into this dark side of things, there probably is always, even beneficially, there's always this little element that the magic might eat you, that it kind of wants to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably dissipate it once he lands. Once I realize he's landed while I'm trying to get the rope down to him.
Okay, so thankfully it only takes a moment before this rope that is already knotted up is able to descend basically the entire length downward to you. And again, being a sailor, I imagine climbing rigging and things is something that just is, you know, second nature to you at this point.
Typical knife in the teeth thing, and just start grabbing the rope and go up.
Right. So yeah, especially like a knotted rope, no big deal. Even in the, you know, the high winds and the downpour, like it's not a problem for you.
Yeah, I mean that's typically how it's done anyway. Like the more windy it is, the more likely I'm gonna have to climb the rigging and do a bunch of stuff.
All right, so as Rodrick kind of climbs this knotted rope, and the rest of you are able to, you know, maybe help him up onto this other side where this bridge is. You now stand kind of on the precipice, if you will, of what remains of the profane chapel. Anything else before you head inside?
And so I imagine
Like, it's all normal stuff. I wrap up the rope and I put it away while you're talking.
So I imagine, everyone's hoisting up this rope. Poe's starting to pack everything up, and Joe sort of stood there with this saturated, he like grasps it as he's coiling it, and a little bit of water seeps out and is immediately replaced with the bucketing rain. And he's grasping this rope, and he's looking around, and he looks to Rodrick, who's just come over the side of this cliff face, and he looks to Poe, and he said, "All right, Beaky, I'm willing to accept a lot, but you've got to explain that."
After it puts the rope away, he starts coughing again. It says, it's fine. It's just a little sickness that has some benefits to it, I guess. And that was...
What sickness? And does it relate to the fish madness?
Well, not directly. It's not... Maybe indirectly. No.
It indirect fish madness.
Well, fish madness, if it's caused by the Gloam, which is everywhere, then there is a connection, yes. But directly, no. I had no part of this.
Look, I don't claim to be any sort of magician or to even vaguely understand what the Orders do, but to my mind, they gave us gaslights and powder, not flying black tentacles. Who are you? Are you an Ordist? Are you who you say you are? Are you a clump of Gloam with a mask? And he looks to Gideon. Look, I'm not overreacting here. This is fucked, right?
Okay.
Well, I know that if he's got the fish madness, then he probably has a big scar under that mask.
No, I don't have the fish madness, but suppose an explanation is in order. I wasn't expecting you to find out this early. Essentially, part of my research was into the Gloam itself. The Ordists want to know more about it. And at times when you research, you get infected. And he pulls off his mask, and you can see his skin just has essentially the Gloam all over it. And
Paul, please take a point of inspiration. That's incredible.
So is this Gloam, does it appear as like lines in his face and stuff? Like going on?
It probably moves a little bit. Like little, like it's alive, essentially, almost like the only thing I could describe, like the Venom symbiote, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it. And he'll pull off his glove, and he'll be on his hand as well and stuff. And I have control over it now, but it is slowly killing me. And I want to make amends for things I've done, so I am out doing what I can to help others. But if you feel that I've gone too far over, then it's your decision if you want to end my life. But as I said, I am still in control. It is not... The more I use it, the worse it gets. But if I can use it for some good, then it's better than nothing.
This is the problem. This right here, and he's looking at the other two, is the problem with orders. Never could stick to self-knotting ropes and glowing boxes. Always had to be just fine, I guess. You stay in front. And Joe is like, he's very unsure about this because this is like a person, and he's just interacted with Zed, who was tainted with the Gloam but wasn't like violent or anything. Just I have to be around you for a little while for the work for Zed. It'll be fine.
Well, I know one thing. That was neither a big scar on his face nor was it poultice in his mask. So therefore, this bet was nullified and we don't owe anyone anything.
Oh, poultice! I have poultice and stuff in the.
God damn it!
Well, it's some herbs and stuff to make it smell nicer, but.
Rodrick pulls the 3 bullets out of his wax pack bullet things out of his bag and hands them to Joe angrily. Could have just, and it looks at Poe and just says, "You could have just, kept your mouth silent, maybe."
Joe takes the bullets and he sort of takes them in his hand and slowly deposits them into his satchel where he keeps all the rounds. He's looking at Poe and he says, "They might be needed."
Gideon's been fairly silent through this exchange, and he doesn't look surprised, but he also doesn't look like he's not giving much of emotion towards what just happened. He's more concerned with what lies beyond this door that we're all standing in front of. And I believe he might try to, bring the group back to sort of a focus and be like, we have more serious problems to deal with right now.
For the record, he puts the mask back on after all this. I'm just going to leave it off, but he puts it back on.
Yeah, no worries. That's how I see your face all the time anyways, Paul. Just no. Okay. So as Gideon kind of tries to rein in his compatriots' focus, kind of turns, all of you kind of turn back to face this remnant of a building, broken and torn, very much like the rest of this countryside. We kind of pull away and see, past the broken part of this building, where like the northern third of this chapel has basically just been ripped off and fallen into the water beneath. We see a flash of lightning, and it shows us the silhouette of a ship with torn sails slowly crawling its way towards Bleak Trawler's Bay. Unbeknownst to the players, unbeknownst to the characters, as they are now standing full force in front of this chapel. The door ahead of you is shut, but you see no method of locking to it. You don't think it will give you any sort of resistance. What would you like to do?
Well, since no one else seems to be moving forward, then Rodrick will step up to the door and kind of push on it like he did at the other place and see if it opens.
It takes considerable more effort than the Manor House door, but you push against these double doors of this chapel entrance, and they creak and groan open as the twisting and and pitching of the building has caused the floorboards to rise enough to meet the bottom of this door. So you kind of push against the floor, and the other side is what you might kind of expect to see in a chapel. These boards that kind of run the length, and pews situated every so often on either side of a central aisleway. Tall ceiling with narrow walls and plenty of lighting fixtures, candelabras and chandeliers, all of which are currently doused. None of the candles seem to have burned in some time. In the far end of the chapel, where you might expect to find an altar or a pulpit, is instead a broken, wide open vista out into the storming ocean beyond. That side of the chapel is completely and totally saturated with the weather and is twisted and gnarled, boards kind of sticking every which way. And at the far end, seated in a pew that seems to have been somewhat arranged as more of a lounge, is a figure that you can only assume must be Jonathan Schlick, a man who's otherwise known as Slimy Jack. He looks up, his surprisingly fine clothing, to see the lot of you kind of standing in the doorway, and he says, "Oh, you here on official business?"
It's official enough. Slimy Jack, I take it.
He kind of tenses his jaw at that. "My name is Jonathan, and you can call me Oldest Schlick if you would prefer, but no one calls me Slimy Jack. At least not to my face."
Well, I bet the pirates do.
"I kill pirates, sir. They're the worst form of life." "Are you a pirate?" He kind of like reaches to like the side of his coat where he kind of like pulls it back. You can see the butt of a flintlock.
I'm no more pirate than anyone else trying to survive these dark days, but no, I've never actually pirated a piratey ship or something. I have fought a pirate or two. Usually in a tavern and usually over something else.
Right. So, this official enough business. He kind of like shoots a look at Joe, and then his eyes settle on Gideon. "You Dawnhammers," he says, almost with like open disdain.
Gideon says, "Don't be ridiculous. There are no more Dawnhammers."
"Good. Just a collector then, I see. I suppose some of the things that they made were at least semi-adequate. What is this about? I don't have much time. Sandwall keeps me very busy, you understand."
Or just Slick. What interest does the Baroness have in the Sandwall here? And he steps up, so a little closer now.
He kind of looks up and studies you for a moment. "And you would be..."
You may call me Poole. I've worked for the Baroness before.
We're calling him
Oh.
Inky Poe now, though.
"So, you are claiming the authority that you act upon is given to you by the Baroness? Is that what you're trying to infer?" Because if it is, then I assure you that the Baroness has sent me here to do exactly her bidding, and that's what I intend to do. So you would have to excuse me, but it would appear that my authority would outrank yours.
Unless you're talking about senior ranking, I've probably been doing this a lot longer than you have.
Do you have like a soldier background?
No,
Like the rank insignia thing? No? Okay.
the background is haunted. In case.
Oh, yes. Right. So yeah, he kind of like looks you up and down. You certainly dress as an oldest, at least some of them. But I fail to see where your claim to have more experience or more authority to me has any legs to stand on. You're a motley crew if you're traveling with this rabble. Listen, as I said, Sandwall is extremely busy and there's a lot to do here. The mayor has seen fit to no longer perform his duties, so I must in his stead, on behalf of the Baroness. As I said, she sent me here. Therefore, everything I do is in her name. I wouldn't like to think that you would question the Baroness.
What? I don't know anything about that, but I do have a question for you. What is it that you do here?
He kind of like clicks his tongue, like in his, like against his teeth. I have not been clear, perhaps. As I said, I do the bidding of the Baroness, the business of which is none of yours.
That's true, but I just want to point out that there's this sickness going through town that you're not doing anything about.
The people in this town must be shown that their ways of honoring this pool of cess-filled water is as absurd as this building was once upon a time. The people in Sandwall are being given new purpose in life.
Are you trying to say, and I'm not very smart, so I'm not sure I'm understanding, but are you trying to say that you're making them sick?
I would not dare to claim such a thing, of course not. I'm merely bringing magic to people who need it. Everybody roll perception for me. Go ahead, please, Rod. But while that's happening, everybody roll.
As I say, magic or madness?
Some people, they are one and the same. There are those who cannot quite grasp the power that is just outside of their reach. There are some who need to be shown the way, guided.
I see. So, no.
Okay.
So that was perception from all of us?
It was, yes, perception,
Okay.
please. So we've got...
And since Rodrick just absolutely
Gideon.
failed, like...
Yeah. he's in this conversation. Like, he's in this moment.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you have, Paul?
15 and 18.
All right. Nevermore notices, as does Gideon. The two of you notice that kind of sitting against a wall, not entirely out of reach if he were to take a step, but definitely off to the side, is a case that definitely doesn't belong in this chapel. It looks newer than that. But you can see this growth, this kind of string of grayish tumors kind of growing along the outside of it, along particularly the seam where this tube, this satchel, seems like it would probably open. And embedded in this tumorous kind of growth on the side are more of these red eyes that seem to kind of dart around the room.
And so I think in amongst all this conversation has come to a lull. And Joe, he sort of looks Slimy Jack over. He says, you work under the authority of the Baroness.
As I have said, yes.
And so you must know, you must know the old songs of the Creed, the old Psalms.
The Psalms of the Dawnhammers?
Of the Creed.
Yes.
The Dawnhammers were people. The Creed are the ones that guide us.
Yes, it guided them very, very well. Right into the grave for most of them.
Blessed be the quiet ones who hear the Creed but go unsung. Blessed be the loudest ones who spread the Creed with their lungs. Ring any bells. Oh, Captain Baroness, follower you.
Yes, I've heard this all before. It's very moving, really, amongst the right crowd, I suppose. Do you feel the need to give a sermon since we're in a church?
My point is, we were called here by Zedekiah, the mayor, who sits rotting in the base of his house from something.
A fish madness.
The fish madness.
Which isn't being spread by him.
A man of great faith he was. A man who spread the Creed.
And not fish madness.
And not fish madness. And
yes.
You stand here under some authority given by some baroness far away who doesn't know what you're doing. It smells a little rotten to me.
Smells fishy.
And amongst all this, Joe has been trying to gently sort of sidle his rifle, not to the ready, but off his back, it's resting on his shoulder.
Everybody, roll a religion check for me.
Maybe I'll get lucky.
You never know.
Okay. I have a -1 to perception, yet I roll really well. I have a +6 to religion, and I got a 9.
Man, I'm rolling garbage. That is a 5 total.
All right.
Got a 16 because I rolled a 17.
Holy shit,
11.
Rodrick. 11. Okay, so for whatever fucking reason, Rodrick is the only one who happens to recognize kind of this emblem that is hanging around the neck of Slimy Jack. And it makes sense that only one of you might have any inkling as to what this is, because this is a holy symbol to an old, nearly forgotten god by the name of Victus. And furthermore, Rodrick, and maybe this is even why you know this, that there is also an ancient goddess of the sea named Quatu. And that Victus and Quatu are like nemesis to each other. They have hated each other for a long time.
That would track as to why Rodrick would recognize this thing.
Yeah,
Oi
there's probably
there.
a lot of sailors. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, because the goddess of the sea probably talked about a lot. Sailors, superstitious folk being as they are. Oi there. Isn't that the symbol of Victus?
He very quickly, like, his composure changes and drops, and he very quickly kind of reaches down and tucks that back into kind of like the frills of his like ascot. No, it's a family heirloom.
Family heirloom of Victus.
I know not what this Victus that you speak of is.
Victus, enemy of goddess of the sea. Not ringing a bell. Listen, I don't know things about religion, but this is a church and goddess of sea, fish poisoning kind of sounds like a Victus thing to me.
Listen, as I said, I'm very, very busy. He starts to cross the room.
Oi, hold up there. Few more questions.
I'm just stepping over here for just a moment. As I said, I'm very
Here
busy.
you are.
There's a rope you can see kind of hanging kind of in the corner of the room. He kind of stares at you for a moment, and then he dashes for the rope.
Aha!
I send Nevermore. Nevermore moves a little faster.
All right.
And
Let's get initiative rolled.
yeah, I was gonna say, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to do a thing.
Well, that doesn't help. He goes after me.
The rolls are not happening tonight. That's 10.
Hey, yes.
The dice goddess giveth, and she taketh away.
I changed my
Sometimes
die up, and now I'm doing
She
really
just
well.
taketh. Good. Okay, what do we got here? Gideon is 2. Is that from a previous roll, or is that that's your initiative? Okay. That and cleanup. Let's see. Baimley, the 10 is from your initiative? Yes? Okay,
I see Gideon is slow to react, but then he brings down the smite.
Right?
He brings the hammer.
Exactly. Let's see. And by hammer, I mean... Ooh-wee. Alright, so... I need a d6 roll from Rodrick and Poe as well, please.
6.
Roll again, please, Scott.
3.
Okay.
6.
You had a 6, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that you beat out that one.
Oh,
But-
how many?
Okay. So Rodrick, Slimy Jack also had a 23 on his initiative. And the d6s were roll-offs. I also got a 6, and then on my second die, I got a 5. So there's like this, like Mexican standoff, kind of moment between Rodrick and Slimy Jack where you're both kind of like eyeing each other up. And then you both kind of in the same instant, like hit the go button, right? And he's just like a hair faster than you, and closes with this rope, reaches up, and as he does so, his glove kind of extends out past the sleeve of his jacket, and you can see that his entire arm looks like it's nothing more than like cancerous tendrils, like kind of wrapped together in this like kind of almost like a rope.
As I
he
suspected.
As he reaches out, like those tendrils kind of like burst through the seams of his like calfskin glove and wrap around this rope and give it a big pull. And there's this dong 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 as he pulls the bell of the church into alarm. He then kind of turns around and has produced this flintlock pistol in your direction. He is going to level it at you, and there is the report of a gunshot. Ooh, oh, that teetered on a 20 for like half a second and then fell. Okay, what is your armor class?
It's 16.
16. And then with flintlocks, it's treated as 2 less. I think that's the flintlock rule. Is that right?
Let's double check. I had it open and then I
That is indeed the rule. I got that.
Okay. So treated as a 14. He still rolled abysmally poorly. Yeah. Okay, so he fires this musket at you, this flintlock pistol in your direction, but you can tell that his main focus was on getting this bell rung. Sure. And so as he kind of like flings his arm out backwards towards you and fires, the musket ball like whisks through the air past you and hits the wooden wall of the church behind you. Rodrick, you're right behind him.
So the shot as it comes at Rodrick, Rodrick actually sort of turns with it, sort of rotates, trying to get away from this thing, and reaches out with his other hand. So he's kind of doing this, like he was aiming his own gun at the same time that went off.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And just fires his pepper box at this guy.
Nice.
Ooh, not great though. So it does double check here. It's a +5. So it was only 13. So I don't. Oh wait, does that make it 11? I'm trying to remember. Sorry, hold on. Flip my quote.
13.
No, your shot shouldn't be affected.
My shot. Yeah, so I had a 13. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see. That would make his armor class a. Oh, okay. So you also fire, and by the same like angle of calculation that his shot was off, yours is off as well. And he's kind of turned enough out of the way, maybe even like leaning on this rope a little bit to kind of swing himself faster. Your shots both kind of whiz past one another and destroy nothing more than a part of the wall. You have any bonus actions?
The bonus action would be if I'd attacked him like with another weapon in the other hand, then I could bonus action fire with the gun. But otherwise, my bonus actions are things like dash, disengage, or hide. And I'm not doing any of those.
Okay, cool. All right, that brings us up to you won the tie.
All right, I pull out what looks to be a pistol. There's some odd attachments to it. Probably a glowing piece on there as well inside of a tube. And he'll fire.
All right, what you got?
13, and that's with +7.
13? No. Likewise, the shot goes wide, and kind of you hear it kind of scatter against some of the wooden planks that stick out of the back of this church.
And you hear the pistol almost like it reloads itself, and chambers another bullet. And then he says a command to Nevermore. Nevermore moves 40 feet closer. How far away is he?
You're kind of situated near the door still. Probably 30 feet.
Oh, so the command. So the command was to attack. Trying to figure out if he can attack after, because he'll move up to it, and yeah, it's always a little odd in the wording here. I guess he. Would you roll? Because my bonus action is to command him to attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's a reaction on his part to attack, or no? I don't know.
Do they go as a part of your turn?
Well, yeah. Sorry, it's shares the initiative. It takes its turn immediately after mine. It can move and
Okay.
use its reaction on its own, but the only action it can take on its turn is a dodge action, unless I take a bonus action my turn to command it to take another action.
Right.
The action can be one. Okay, so basically, yeah, I tell it to attack, and on his turn, he'll move closer and attack.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, yeah, you just roll whatever, bite attack or claw attack or whatever it is that he has. Or I think it's a slam attack for like the constructs.
Yeah, force empowered rend.
There you go.
So it's why can't I see? Maximize this. Where's the hit information? It's telling me damage. Oh, here we go. Spell attack modifier to hit.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's what it cues off of for the.
So it's an intelligence attack, I guess.
Okay.
Spell attack. So I'll just attack with my weapon since it's the same. Oh, but mine one less. So 16. Does that hit?
16. Yes, a 16 will bypass his armor. So you said it's like a fox, right?
Yeah, a little fox-like creature. It's probably maybe a little bigger than a fox, but yeah, more or less.
Yeah, so it kind of like, dashes around a couple of the pews or something and comes up and basically, I imagine, like bites his calf or something like that.
Uh, 5 points of force damage.
5 points. All right. So it kind of like rends into the back of his leg, biting into like the leather boot and kind of pulling. And when it pulls away, this kind of rending attack of this creature, those of you who are close enough and have an angle can see that like the skin that was torn away by this creature is like paper thin. And beneath, you see more of these like cancerous, almost like the fibers of muscle, but replaced with these like grayish, like tumor strung like strands that are all close together, some of which do still have these small red eyes looking out from amongst them. He kind of cries out in pain, but is definitely still in this fight. Okay, all of you roll perception checks for me. This will be at disadvantage unless you have dark vision. 7. Definitely not old Baimley. Oh, Gideon, okay. Okay, yeah. So, once again, everyone but Baimley happens to be facing somewhat in the direction of, or looking out the broken end of this profane chapel. And when you do so, you notice that there is like a ship's mast within like 40 or 50 feet of where the end of this church is. And you can see like tattered sails that are kind of like pulled up into, kind of a stowed position.
Well, that seems a bit weird.
All right. Baimley, it is your turn.
And so the reason Joe didn't see this along with anyone else is that he turned to swipe the rifle off his shoulder, bringing it sort of expertly up, already loaded. He's down on one knee, and he says under his breath, less of a prayer and more of an old Dawnhammer saying. It's come to his mind. He's got Zed on the mind, that poor man dying in the basement because of this guy, this thing, Jack. And he raises the rifle, takes a deep breath in. The old magics should have known their place. So many died, a million graced. And he pulls the trigger. So, as part of that, I'd like to cast Divine Favor on myself as a bonus action. which gives me an extra D4 radiant damage on weapon attacks.
Ooh,
Similarly,
okay.
I'd like to invoke my channel divinity for guided strike to take a +10 to the attack.
Oh my
But
god.
I'll be using sharpshooter to take a -5 to get a +10 on the damage.
Nice.
Okay. There you
So,
go.
I'm rolling with
The Hail
a
Mary.
+7 and an extra D4 and an extra 10 on the damage.
Goodness gracious.
+7, don't let me down. Hey, that is a 22 total.
That'll absolutely hit him.
This is
That's
why we
gonna
keep
be-
Joe around.
And do me a
That's
favor.
gonna be
separate out the radiant damage for me.
Of course. So that is going to be. So I think, yeah, the +10's from sharpshooter, so that's just regular damage. So that's going to be 24 piercing damage and 4 radiant damage.
Okay, 24 piercing. And okay. When whatever it is that the radiant ability, this feature kind of grants your attack, you notice that the effect of that is profound upon him. The tendrils at the spot where your shot kind of pierces him, those kind of cancerous growths seem to like retreat away from the edges of that wound.
Nice. And so it's this clap, this metallic click, and then this as the powder sort of vaporizes, ignites, expands, and this musket ball just goes flying and strikes true, as it seems.
Absolutely. And these growths that are from this area, they kind of let out this horrific, like squelching, like screech that is very hard on your ears. Something I forgot to tackle: when your construct Poe bit him, it was a melee strike. So it is going to take 7 points of poison damage. I don't know if they can take poison damage or not.
Nope.
Okay, cool. So it manages to throw off the ill effects of basically whatever like pustule juice seems to like explode whenever this guy is kind of torn asunder. Sprays all over your fox, but luckily because of the way that you built it, it is able to shrug off the effects of it. Is it also immune to mind effects?
Charmed immunity.
Okay, then yes, I would say so. Okay. So we see that happen. Baimley's shot goes off and tears another hole in this individual. We now move to okay. Whoever it is that's closest to the front door of the profane chapel. Perhaps maybe Gideon?
Yeah.
Since Gideon has yet to go. Gideon, you hear a noise above kind of like the din of the crashing waves and the thunder that kind of accompanies this torrential downpour. And it's just enough to kind of cause you to look over your shoulder, kind of out back through the open double doors of this profane chapel. And you see a snake of firelight, torches, and lanterns that are coming up the path towards this profane chapel. It seems like there's a large throng of villagers that are making their way towards the chapel.
Okay. So the first thing is it then my turn, or is it? Wait, is this still between turns?
So okay, right before your turn, let's do another round of perception checks, please. Again, disadvantage if you don't have any kind of... Yeah, thank you.
Whew. Jeremy, I got a 19 and a 19 on both dice, so it's
Hell
24
yes,
either way.
Rodrick. Excellent.
That's a
Ooh, Baimley.
17 plus 4, so
22. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe my math is wrong. Okay, yeah. So this time around, it is Rodrick and Gideon. Both of you spot at the far end of the chapel, where kind of like the end of it is kind of rended off, and there's sea and sky beyond, where the kind of twisted, broken, jagged floorboards kind of stick out into the open air. You think you see, you're fairly certain that you see, with these flickers of lightning, these kind of slimy black digits, hands, kind of seem to be grabbing the edges of the board, and some kind of dark shapes seem to be slowly kind of pulling their way up onto the floor. Now, Gideon, it is your turn.
So Gideon has observed all of these crazy things that are approaching them, and he first off, he calls out to everyone, and he says, I think we may be surrounded fairly soon. And then he turns his attention to Jonathan and says, I told you that there are no more Dawmbringers. And as he's saying this, he's readying his hammer, and he says, that doesn't mean there aren't people who follow their ways. And so he's going to don hammers. That's what I meant. I'll get there one of these days. So he pulls his hammer out, and he runs, and he runs towards Jonathan, and he's going to just ram into him with this warhammer.
All right. Close with him, bringing your warhammer up, striking downwards with...
It was almost a 20. That is a total of 7.
7.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So you bring your hammer up, and just at the last moment, he kind of pivots on the foot that's not kind of been torn, and your hammer comes down, striking the floor at your feet. As you do so, several of the boards crack, groan under the weight of your swing, and when your weapon strikes, you can feel the entire building kind of creak and groan under even this small amount, relatively, of stress upon its frame. Beneath, we can see these broken rocks, jagged, like a waiting maw. The foamy sea like crashing angrily against them. Lightning flashes, and you can still see pieces of the broken chapel that are caught amongst the rocks below, jagged and broken. Slimy Jack is very quickly realizing that he is in danger here. He's outnumbered. Though he has rung this bell, and it seems maybe, he thinks at least, that there's some form of backup, if you will, that is on its way. Looks around the room, and all of you feel this strange presence kind of wash over you. This, almost like there was another voice speaking to you from inside your own head. Each of you that are within 30 feet of him, which I think is going to be all of you, need to make a charisma saving throw.
Are there any conditions that might help against that? Like charm?
Against yes, against charm would work.
Oh, then no rolls from the two of us.
Okay.
And Gideon, too.
Can't be charmed.
Perfect.
No, isn't it advantage against charmed?
Oh, sorry, advantage. The two of us, it's advantage.
Yeah.
Nevermore has immunity.
I needed it too.
Okay.
It's 16 for me.
Okay. We've got a 16
Nice.
from Gideon, 12 from Baimley and Rodrick. What did you say, Poe?
19.
19 from you. Okay. Baimley and Rodrick. When you hear this voice speaking inside your head, there's a moment where there's like this intense increase in pressure, or almost like a feedback loop from a speaker, but kind of inside your skull between these two entities that seem to be combating one another. Both of you are going to take 6 points of psychic damage, and I need a roll from each one of you. This is going to be a D20 roll, please.
Righty. 13.
You say a 15?
13, sorry.
A 13.
So 19 for me.
And a 19 for you. Okay. Baimley. You know that entity that Rodrick just mentioned? This goddess of the sea? Quatu has now entered your mind through your teeth. You're fairly positive that if you remove them one at a time, that you can get her out of your head. Rodrick, you see the walls and the floor and the ceiling of this church with each flash of lightning. You see them covered in microscopically written eldritch runes, but they cover every surface that you can see here, inked and kind of crawling. They flash incessantly in your mind every time your eyes open and you look around. You're pretty sure that you need to carve all of these into your flesh for safekeeping. Or if it can't be your flesh, then it needs to be something living. Both of you, please roll your sanity die for me.
It's a 6. We're all good.
Okay. Yours stays the same.
4.
Okay, yours stays the same as well. So despite this horrific imagery or presences that are kind of present in pushing against your brain, you manage to at least keep something of your sanity intact for the moment. Okay, Rodrick, it is your turn.
So this feeling I have, the sanity roll that I made, does that mean I must act on it now, or probably?
No,
right? I'm going crazy.
It's kind of just up to you. It's a driving impulse. That's where I'll leave it.
All right. Well, I want to. Rodrick had this idea of trying to continue to press this fight on this guy, and he works best when he's up close. So I think that Roderick's plan is to draw his knife and kind of leap over Gideon's missed hammer, and this leaping is part of the sort of rakish audacity I have with my fancy footwork and stuff, and just kind of coming at him with like the weirdest kind of attack, but slashing at him and trying to carve these things into his flesh.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, there's there's pews and stuff everywhere, so you might even kind of run up on the edge of a pew or something and give a cool flourishing assault with your weapon. All right, what you got on the attack?
Oh, that would be 17 plus 5, 22.
Yes, that will absolutely hit.
Cool. And then so it's gonna be just like just a knife. So it's just gonna be hold on 1d4 plus 3. Oh, hey, 7 damage.
7 damage.
Plus sorry, I forgot. Then he's got the sneak attack because I'm now in close range, and so I get to use it as I'm a swashbuckler. Forgot about that. Should have had all my dice ready, but I didn't.
You're good. You're good.
And so then these two. So another 8. So that comes out to 15
total. Okay, nice.
And then as the bonus action, because of my thing, I'm going to bonus action fire at him with my pepper box and hopefully hit.
All right.
I think you have disadvantage in melee.
I do not.
Ooh, that is.
You're special.
That's what I'm
Nice.
talking about. I built the character for this very reason.
Yeah.
Did you
That's
reload?
it's however only 15.
Did you reload? I'm sorry.
I have a pepper box, right? How fast do I need to reload that thing?
I don't know.
I forgot if they have a.
I think a pepper box holds more than one. I don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to find that. I looked and looked and looked, and it doesn't say exactly how many. It just says it holds some.
It
rotating.
does say multiple barrels, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the idea of a pepper box is it's like a pistol shotgun, like a single shot fires all the barrels.
Oh, I see.
So it's like it's an
Oh,
action to
okay.
reload after you've shot like
Got
a
it. Okay, so
single-
then I don't get.
Oh,
the-
okay. So that would be dry then.
Yeah. So never mind.
Okay.
But I still slashed at him with the knife, which was the crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
Trying to carve the rune. The cut is trying to carve the runes in him.
and as you kind of like leap upon him with some of this like madness, this frenzy, kind of at the fringes of your mind, you might not pay much attention as this again the liquid of his growths kind of splashes upon you. You're going to take 3 points of poison damage, and I need you to roll again. This roll
Which one?
is going to be. This is a d20 also.
Oh, well, I didn't do so well. I got a 4 on the roll. Is it a save of some kind?
No.
Nope. Yeah.
Just a roll on a
Then
chart.
a 4.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So as this liquid kind of like splashes on you, all of the places that it kind of hits your bare skin, you notice kind of have an itching sensation, and within moments it kind of tightens, almost like the way like your skin would tighten with like a sunburn, only much more intense. And when looking down, you realize you have these protrusions kind of all over your body that look like the broken lumber of this profane chapel. So, according to the chart, bark-like protrusions envelop your skin, protecting you from harm. Your armor class increases by 2 for 1d6 hours.
That's nice.
Okay. Gain some kind of bark skin. Well, we don't know much about that, but here I am. All right.
Okay, so that was Roderick's turn. Poe, you're up next.
I will attempt to fire again. Oh, I don't think a 10 will hit.
Did you reload?
Automatically reloads.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
infused with some clockwork mechanism as I picture it now. And,
Mhm.
so I miss my second shot and it reloads, and I give Nevermore the command to attack again.
Okay.
And let's see. 21 should hit.
Yes.
Uh, 7 points of force damage.
7 more points. Excellent. Okay.
And as a
Not
free
looking
action,
great.
I will ask. I guess I'll ask Joe since I know him a little better. I'll say, do you think holy water would work? I think I have oh shoot, I have a vial somewhere. Let's see if I can remember where it is. Oh yes, Nevermore has it. In the chest. I don't know if that'll work.
So Nevermore has kind of bitten into him again, getting a hold of one of his limbs, maybe even his like other arm as it's kind of draped down by his side. Again, kind of ripping and tearing, immune, thankfully, to the splashes of the strange kind of liquid that comes out of the broken eyes and tumors that form his body. He is looking terrible. I mean, if he was a normal man, he would have long since ceased to function with the amount of devastation that you have all inflicted to him in this short period of time. But he still stands, barely. There is a loud crash of thunder that shakes this rickety building as if it needed any encouragement. And with the flash of lightning, you can see these dark shapes rising at the end of the chapel. And you see that there is half a dozen of them that are gathered there. These vaguely shaped like people forms, but they're hunched and they're twisted. They're covered with black scales and large eyes, rows of sharp teeth that all of the features you can see, other than their general shape, seem to be that of the sea, creatures of the deep. And amongst them, there stands a larger figure who steps forward into the dim light of this cathedral. And you can see that while he is not quite as twisted and gnarled as some of these others, you realize that he has the general shape of a large shark. He carries with him an anchor on the end of a chain. He steps forward and points his other hand, which seems to be little more than a hook, in the direction of Slimy Jack, before he then turns to the rest of you and proclaims, "Slimy Jack is mine. He has a debt to pay, and I intend to collect it." None of you says anything in reply.
I'm a little crazy right now.
I got to carve these symbols in his flesh.
Do any of you intend on stopping this creature from trying to take Jack?
Not particularly.
I don't think so.
Well, you have to carve the runes in his flesh. If
I mean, I guess so, yeah.
It's up to you.
In a theory,
I mean, again, like you failed the saving throw, but you passed your sanity check. So
I mean, I'm sane enough. I just, for whatever reason, have this compulsion. But if the fight is stopping, like if the others are just gonna stop and let this guy take him, I guess I'm gonna let that happen.
I didn't say I was going to stop.
Okay, well, in that case,
not going to interfere
Rodrick
with the
and
big shark.
Joe, if Joe is continuing to fight, Rodrick will continue to fight this guy, but I'm not going to stop the other guy from getting involved in any way, shape, or form.
All right, excellent. Yes, DJ. Please.
I was just, I think Gideon would be slightly curious as to if this guy takes Jack, then will this end? Or
Is this the end of the fish madness? Question mark.
because that's what we were brought here to do, was stop what's hurting the town.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if by him taking him with him will stop this, then I will gladly let him take him. But
I don't think that Gideon would have a reason to think that that was the case.
Right.
I think he's pretty sure that even without this man here, that what damage has been done will likely continue to grow even without him. That's kind of the way that Gloam seems to behave.
I think that at this point, maybe he would point out that because is that case still sitting on the other side of the room?
Yes.
I think he would maybe point out to the others, maybe that didn't notice it to begin with, without trying to draw too much attention to it, that it's there, and that might be more of our issue.
When it's clear that none of you wish to stand in the way, even though Slimy Jack is continuing to try to protest and fight off any of them that come near him, these deep ones start to make their way close to him, and it's obvious that so is this shark folk. The shark folk takes one or two steps forward and hurls this anchor at Slimy Jack. It collides into what's left of Jack and hooks him on one of the tines of this anchor. And this shark ends up kind of grabbing a hold of holding onto the end of the chain that connected this anchor, and slowly begins to wind it around his very large forearm, kind of starting to draw Slimy Jack closer to him. But not quite done with the fight yet, apparently. Baimley, it is your turn.
And so I should mention I failed my concentration check for the previous spell, so Divine Favor's out. And so it's this ringing in my mind. Joe doesn't really interact with this Sharkman because he's not there. There's this blinding ringing, like he's just been punched with an iron fist, and he feels this need to rip out his teeth, and he's swimming. He's lost. He doesn't know what's going on, and his mind flits everything that's happened, and he focuses in on an old Dawnbringer's sort of marching song. And he mutters under his breath, "Oh, men, women, and children, keep your powder dry." And he pulls out one of the bullets in this sort of paper bag with the powder and the metal. He pops it into his mouth, and he crunches down on the metal casing to crack, possibly shatter 2 of his teeth, rips the casing open, loads his rifle expertly, and with his War Priest feature, fires the rifle as a bonus action. "Blackened shores and gnarled claws, but never shall we die." And he fires a bullet towards old Jackie Boy.
All right.
Blood presumably trickling down his jaw.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's only a 14.
Oh, but 14 against a musket fire, that is the number. So that will actually hit. This high goes to you.
Nice. Okay, so that's just going to be a straight D12 plus 3. Oh man, that I'm not sure if you can see is 12 on that die over there.
Oh my god.
I wish I could pull my camera close.
I believe you.
That's
I believe
15,
you. That's 15
that's
points.
15 piercing damage.
Oh, damage. Okay. How does this shot kill Slimy Jack? Describe it.
And so I imagine he's just been hooked. He's sort of realizing that he's about to be dragged off. And as this horror comes over his face, whatever past debt he knows he'll have to repay, he realizes and he closes his eyes. And the last thing he sees as he opens them is the bullet. And it just slams straight into one of his eyes.
And the husk, the corpse of Slimy Jack, collapses to the floor of this dilapidated, rundown chapel on the edge of this cliff in Sandwall. There's this silence that kind of follows the report, the ringing of Baimley's shot, where time almost seems frozen. And the lightning flashes again, and we see the face of this shark folk. And we notice that his eyes go inky black as his grimacing maw kind of turns in the direction of Baimley, and there's a low growl. The flashing of the lightning stops and goes dark. And that's where we're going to end this game. We only have about half an hour left. I definitely don't think we've got time to wrap it up. So I think leaving it hanging out in the air is the way to go.
I mean, to summarize the rest of Roderick's actions, is he was going to slide to the floor and just continue carving into the body. The symbol.
Well, we can do. Yeah,
that's all he would have done.
Poole was going to do was, with the inspiration, intimidate the shark folk into leaving. Not that he couldn't beat us, but it would really hurt him. And I rolled a 22.
Oh,
to convince him that we are not
very
worth
impressive.
The effort.
Nice.
But
had it come to it, which is what I was trying to do to Jack earlier, and it failed. I was going to, using my divine smite, which is 2d8 radiant damage.
Yeah, if you had gotten a hold of him, it probably would have blown him away.
Oh yeah.
So I probably would have either turned my attention to the shark or at minimum to that case with that radiant damage. And
yeah.
Gotten a hold of that.
That was nice.
Well, yeah, this was a lot of fun. Maybe at some point we can do a follow up or something to see maybe how this all plays out.
I'm not sure it's a good position for us to follow up.
Well, I'm not too sure about that. But, it could be interesting.
And just all pick up, and now we're all crew on the shark's pirate ship.
Yeah.
Thanks, Baimley, you dick.
Oh, man.
Well, it's fine. I could do some things. I can show you what to do around the ship.
Well, we need pirate nicknames then. So Joe is now toothless.
I've still got some teeth. I'm cracked tooth.
Crack tooth. Yeah, there you
go. This was awesome. Thank you all so much for coming along for this ride. This was an absolute blast. Like I said, I have never had the chance to run Gloam before, and it's a really fun dive to kind of take and get into that setting. So yeah, I'm going to pass things back over to my players once again, and then we're going to put a bow on it and call it done. We'll do things in reverse order this time around, and Matt, you're up first.
Hello. I just doomed the party to an eternity of servitude under a sharky captain. I bet he's very mean, doesn't let us play cards, doesn't let us stay up past our bedtime. Even on long weekends, he's very cruel. No, this game has been excellent. Really that's such like a nothing sentence, but like sort of dense and foggy and sort of it was good. The exact kind of thing I look for when I'm playing Gloam. So this was excellent. Thanks everyone for helping that happen. Thanks Jeremy for getting it running. Thanks Scott for getting the not AtCon all together. Poole for playing, and of course that amazing reveal. That was so good. Oh, and DJ, of course, for being awesome. Yeah, my channel's in the description. Absolute Tabletop is great. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. Thank you. It was a genuine pleasure to get the chance to run the first game for you. So thank you very much for waking up very early or staying up very late, whichever it happened to be. And I hope that there's a nap in your future. But yeah, it's super appreciated, and I'll have you back at any point. Just let me know. So thank you for bringing that kind of that gritty, almost Clint Eastwood ness to Baimley and his presence in Sandwall. It was a lot of fun. All right, next up we have Scott.
Yeah, I'm Scott. Yeah, set this thing up. I'm glad that I did. This game was amazing. Very dark, very scary, very cool. And I was trying to be a little bit of a comic relief, and I apologize to anyone who might have been offended by my accent throughout the entire thing, because, you know, it wasn't great. But hey, it was fun. I had fun. You can find me at Heeroic Gaming. You can find me on the Facebook. You know, we can talk in the future. But anyway, I just want to say, like, massive thanks to everybody. You guys did great. This was cool.
Yeah, man, and absolutely the same. It was a joy to run a game for you finally. So thank you, Scott, for coming along. And again, a huge thank you to going through all of the massive, you know, bureaucracy and the extreme setup and everything that I know went into putting not AtCon together. It's deeply appreciated. And yeah, I thought he was Rodrick was a great insertion. You know, having him be that one little note of optimism might be too strong of a word, but at least, you know, not complete and total giving over to the darkness. It's always nice to have that kind of in a setting like Gloam, that little tiny beacon of light, even if it is a pirate. All right. Speaking of beacon of light, Paul.
I have a question, Scott. Are you is Rodrick a pirate, or was he?
Rodrick is a sailor, not a pirate. There's a little bit of a difference, but in the world of Gloam, sometimes when it's like a bunch of moral grays, who knows what that means?
That's what I figured. Thanks, Jeremy. This was amazing, as it always is, and I'm surprised you haven't run this before, and I hope you run it again. It was, I see the similarities between the two settings, I guess, enough that it was a nice story and everything, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. So can't wait to do it again, this or another game with you.
I appreciate that, Paul. Thank you very much, man. Like I said, always a pleasure to have you on the channel. So I'm really happy that you came along for this one. Yeah, mixing Sandwall and Shadows over Driftchapel, it generates a ton of content, you know, because Sandwall is kind of meant to be several sessions worth of stuff. So having to kind of compile what I really liked about both of them and blend it together where I could, and then cut away enough, you know, excess that I could try to concentrate it down to just a single, you know, 2 to 3 hour type game. It was a little bit of an exercise, but it was fun. It was a really good way to kind of introduce myself to the setting of Gloam a little more. So I'm really happy that the foggy, creepy, dense, dirty aspect of it came across so well. I'm glad that y'all got that and totally leaned into it as players. It's a joy to watch everybody kind of get what's going on and do what they can to help support and feed that. So thank you.
It would have been interesting to see you run and play in like a mini campaign or like a 3-shot of this, you running it with everything you wanted to keep, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, someday, perhaps. Someday.
Yeah.
At least now I know it's possible. So, yeah. All right. Last but certainly not least, we have DJ.
Yeah. First off, thank you, Jeremy. It's always great to play with you. And like I said, like everybody said, this mixture in this setting is awesome. And I don't personally, in the media that I consume, I do not consume a lot of horror media. So being able to play horror games like this is a way for me to get a little bit of that genre in my life that I don't normally get elsewhere. So, but yeah, I'm definitely enjoyed it. And I'm also, of course, looking forward to here in a little while, a couple hours or so, playing some Mecha Hack over on my channel, The Griffin's Nest. Get most of this bunch together again and do that. So look forward to that.
Absolutely, and that's a part of AtCon line, or not AtCon, as well. So yeah, absolutely do go check out DJ's game in a little while here over on the Griffin's Nest on YouTube or on Twitch.
YouTube,
on YouTube, right here on YouTube. This was incredible. Thank you all very much for the opportunity to run this game and to try out this kind of wacky idea, as well as, again, just investing enough to really go along with it and help sell it. It was a joy to run the game for all of you. For those of you out there in TV land, please, like I said, do check out the rest of what is going on this weekend with Not AtCon, as well as over on Mini Terrain Domain's Twitch channel. There's games pretty much most of the rest of the weekend, all the way through, I think, Monday, between the two of them. And it's all going to the same great cause of Game to Grow, which is an awesome charity that helps bring games like this to people who might need it as a little bit of a learning experience, to kind of use it as therapy. This is probably a bad example of therapy, but, there's other better examples out there using role-playing games. I highly encourage that you seek those out if you need that kind of bolstering in your life. So it's a great cause, and these events are full of fantastic individuals who are both exceedingly creative individuals, as well as just very kind human beings. So it's amazing to be a part of this community and to be able to do what I can to give something back in a way, and it makes me very proud and very happy. So thank you for that opportunity, Scott and Jake and everybody else who's involved in both of these different events. It means the world to me. So thank you. For those of you who might be watching, if you do like the kind of content that I produce here on the channel, then do all the stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, talk about it, and all that kind of stuff. Help spread the word. But I think that's all of the business that I have, and that should bring us to the end of today's game. And thank you. I love you all. Be kind to each other. It's absolutely free. It costs you nothing to be nice. So just do it. The world needs it. But until then, sure, next time. Until the next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.